Hello everyone and welcome to Inmersión Total con Zacarías. I'm Zach and welcome to the channel. I decided to start this channel because I've found so much help in other channels where people document their learning journey through the comprehensible input process. Just to give you kind of an idea of where I'm coming from when it comes to language learning, I'm the stereotypical cult follower of the Dreaming Spanish, comprehensible input, Stephen Krashen, Map versus Japan, all of that. That whole community is really where I find my inspiration and where I have found what I believe to be the best way to learn languages. And so just a little bit about me. I'm from the United States. I'm 26 years old. Actually, I'm 27. Wow. And I just love, I love languages. I love other cultures. I love communicating with people that I shouldn't be able to communicate with by, societal metrics or whatever it may be. I love just connecting with people on a human level, and languages is a great way to do that with people that you never would have had access to otherwise. Now, growing up, I always loved Spanish. My great-grandmother was from Puerto Rico, and so she spoke Spanish, I think, when I was a baby, but I never learned it in the house. Maybe I understood a little bit as a baby, but unfortunately she passed away, and I was left with a desire to learn the language and a love for the culture that I couldn't really explain, but I tried as hard as I could growing up as a kid to learn Spanish. I think the first thing I did as a kid was just I found out about Google Translate, and I would get on Google Translate and I would just look up words and I would just translate all the time. And I would, what a lot of people actually do nowadays, which is kind of funny, is I would try to play the language game like it's like a math problem or an equation or a puzzle where I could just put the pieces together, and as long as the right words were there, then that's me speaking the language. And then I lived quite a bit more of my life and kind of put Spanish to the wayside, not because I wasn't passionate about it. I always was. It was just I didn't really ever find an effective way to make it stick or to continue to motivate me to really dive into it. Now, a few years ago, I would say my passion was kind of reinvigorated. I really did some hard self-study. I had a really good friend of mine who actually kind of taught me from the ground up the bases of the language, the foundation. I'd known a lot of vocabulary just from whether it be Duolingo or, like I said, translating things online as a kid. I knew lots of very, very basic vocabulary. Also, this is of course very, very normal for Americans here in the United States. We take Spanish to some level. I was homeschooled, so I didn't take 4 years of Spanish in high school. But as we all know, that doesn't do a lot for people anyways. But yeah, my best friend, we were in a car on a vacation, and he taught me, he would take me through the conjugation charts, and he would say, okay, now say you ate, and then I eat, and they eat, etc. And until I had those conjugations, those present perfect conjugations or whatever they are, down pat. But it still kind of fell flat, and I did not continue to pursue that until I found Dreaming Spanish. And this was absolutely life-changing for me. The idea that there is a whole body of research that human beings all have the capability to learn languages in some capacity, and that I could absolutely do this for the language that I've been wanting to learn so bad for my entire life. It would just take my time and attention, and then my brain would naturally do the rest. And that sounded a little bit too good to be true, but I found it to be very true. So for the past 272-ish hours or whatever, I've been immersing in Spanish, and I've absolutely been blown away by the results. I think I may be a little bit ahead of where the roadmap says for Dreaming Spanish, and that's just because I've tried so hard to learn Spanish throughout my life. I've listened to so much music, I've tried to watch shows, but never immersing way above my level, didn't understand anything. I've tried to memorize so much vocabulary and worked really hard to memorize grammar, but this is completely different feeling. I was dreaming in Spanish for the first time the other day, no pun intended, and it was crazy. It was crazy to have Spanish flowing through my brain. And now when I rarely speak, I'll do a speaking update video for you guys, because at this point, to be honest, it just feels like it just has to flow out of me. I want to speak Spanish so bad, and it's there if I want it. The vocabulary and the sentence structures that I've acquired through consuming the input, those are there. Of course, I'll get tripped up, and if I try to speak too far out of my depth, speak in ways that I haven't heard people speak, even in my input, or just ways that are too complicated, I'll definitely get tripped up. But I'll give you guys a speaking update video. But that being said, I'm really excited to start this channel. I love thinking about this stuff, and I just want to encourage you guys to keep fighting the good fight, keep fighting the comprehensible input fight. It is so worth it, and I am daily seeing progress and learning words and understanding more, and it's really cool. Other thing would be, I am also studying Arabic, and that is it's a more difficult process in some ways, because it's just so far removed. So the comprehension level when I'm consuming content in Arabic is far lower, and it's just way harder to find comprehensible input in Egyptian Arabic. I mean, I learned in a very traditional way. I learned the alphabet and was taking classes and had it beat into my head. And so I've got some scripts, basically. There's no better word for it other than just scripts. I can talk about things that have been drilled into my head to talk about. But we all know that that's not fluency in a language. That's not speaking a language. That's just regurgitating scripts that you've memorized. And so once I learned about comprehensible input, and I did a little bit of it in Spanish, then I took an Arabic course, and I had to completely convert my life over to Arabic. And I took those principles that I learned in Dreaming Spanish, and I tried my best to do it in Arabic. And so I've got about 250 hours of Arabic. I'm not doing it a lot right now because I'm just enjoying Spanish so much, and I'm feeling the motivation of all of the input working, and I can't stop. I really am enjoying my input. I'm starting to enjoy the content, not the language. I'm not thinking about the language. I'm just thinking about what's going on, and if I'm generally understanding what's going on. So yeah, right now I'm all obsessed with Spanish, but as time goes on, and as the needs for my language needs change based on what I'm doing in my life, I'll also talk about Arabic, and we can kind of put our heads together on how to learn languages that don't quite have this extensive vocabulary, or this extensive library of comprehensible input. But I'll cut this video off here. It's great to meet you guys. I cannot wait to interact with you guys. Once again, I'm not an expert. I'm not asking for anything other than to have genuine interaction with you guys and to encourage each other on this path. So good to meet you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.